Welcome back to Vibe Nation, and today we're here to watch part 2 of r/Prorevenge patient student gets evil teacher fired. We left off on a train story, so let's go ahead and get into the new story. And I was sad again, I can't speak. So let's get into this. We left at the 11-minute mark. Let's go. We still got some more time. And 3, 2, 1.
Edit. I wrote in the comments that we encountered these guys again a few weeks later. I'll post it here as well because these guys did not
Oh, it's a continuation. Okay, let's see.
The first time. They apparently got on at the same station like last time, but we didn't notice them. They had plans to travel further than last time, but when the conductor went out to check the tickets, it went like this. Conductor spots them, recognizes them, says loudly among the other travelers, "Oh, are you able to pay for your tickets today?" They just fidget and say, "No, we ain't got no money." Well, ain't that a shame? Guess you have to get off at the next stop. What the F? Can't you be nice and let us be? What the F are we gonna do at that stupid station? Guys, I don't give a F. You're going off this train and you can walk to the next station, and I'm calling the train behind us so they won't pick you up either. They got off. The other train called us later because they saw the guys walking on a forest path along the railway track. And I haven't seen these guys since. What are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do about it, huh? This is what I'm gonna do about it.
Beautiful.
This thread about a job where I and about 200 other guys were promised and earned bonuses. The company was a financial service firm known for paying well, but one year they decided they'd withhold bonuses. This is how I handled it. OMG, I went through something similar in 2000, was working for a financial firm, 1,800 employees with a sales force of 200. I was one of the salesmen. We had our annual meeting in April. It was a big affair. Most of the employees attended, and the CEO gave a big speech about how the previous year was the best in the company's history, blah, blah, blah. The next month, May, we each submitted memos basically justifying why we qualified for, or should qualify for, bonuses at the end of June. I wrote mine out and explained the sales growth in my territory over the course of the previous 12 months and what percentage of my sales were out of last year's total sales. Coming off the company's best year ever, it should have been a slam dunk, right? All of us were excited about how much we'd have coming in June. June rolls around and my bonus is zero. Zero. But it's not just me, it's all over the sales floor. Less than 20% of the sales force got bonuses, and holy cow, everyone was pissed. All the supervisors were dealing with angry subordinates, the sales manager was too, and even the VP and director above him. Everyone was furious and insubordinate, angry accusatory emails were flying, and the company was facing a mutiny. It got worse when it came out that the supervisors were offered bonuses that they could determine for themselves. Most of them took them, but a couple, knowing their subordinates wouldn't be getting anything, refused. My supervisor took his. When it came out, he tried to explain to his sales team about how he felt it was justified and how hard he worked. He ended up with people screaming at him about how they felt the same, but they didn't get jack. So for a week or so, things on the floor came to a stop. A lot of people just didn't show up, and the ones that did were angry. I came in and started reading Monster.com ads at my desk. I also stopped selling anything or answering my phone. When confronted by my boss, I told him that as soon as I got the bonus my sales justified, I'd start working again. Until then, I'd be coming in late, reading and responding to one ads, and leaving early. He could expect me to keep that up until I found another job or was fired. The following day, I was sent to the regional sales manager's office. She said she'd heard about my work stoppage and asked me to explain myself. I told her that if she heard about it from my supervisor, then she already knew why I wasn't working and I didn't need to explain it again. She tried buddying up to me, being friendly, then being stern, then being angry. I kept my composure and told her that the longer the company held out on my bonus, the longer it was going to miss out on sales from my territory. I then gave her my average daily amount of sales from the previous year, quantified what the total loss would be for a week of me not selling, and how much cheaper it would be just to pay me the money I was owed and get back to selling. Then I thanked her for her time and told her I'd be leaving work as soon as I left her office. And I did. The following day, I came in and checked my emails, some of which were farewell emails from coworkers who quit over their stolen bonuses, and sat on Monster.com until I was told to go to the office of the National Sales Manager. He's the gatekeeper. He's in charge of all 200 of us. He told me he understood that I was upset and could see why. I asked him if withholding the bonuses from 80% of his sales force was his idea or someone else's. He didn't answer. He did tell me that I would be getting a check on Monday, and could I please go back to work now? I told him I'd be going back to my desk, but wouldn't start until the check was in my hand. When I went back and checked my emails, yep, more defections. The next day, an email went out to the entire sales force. Management had taken a look at the numbers, reevaluated the financials, and determined that June bonuses would be issued shortly. The email also apologized for the delay and reminded us that as salesmen, we were the core of our company and our hard work was appreciated.
Apparently not. If you're gonna go ahead and do that nonsense.
Also received another email, this time from the national sales manager, who told me while bonuses were scheduled for Monday, he'd be walking my check to my desk the following day. The following day, I showed up, sat down, and shortly afterwards, the national sales manager walked on up and handed me my bonus check. I thanked him and handed him my resignation effective immediately. In my resignation letter, I requested that a check for my unused vacation time please be cut and given to me before I left the building. When he finished reading it, I told him I'd clean out my desk while I waited for the vacation check. While I was doing that, one of my coworkers also resigned, effective immediately. We were walked out at the same time and ended up getting drunk at the bar across the street. I learned later from coworkers that remained that even though the company issued the bonuses, they lost about 20% of the sales force in the following 2 months.
Wow.
Gotta love corporate greed. Corporations like this make no sense to me. They cut the bonuses because they wanted to save money and increase profits, but the amount of money they lost because they pissed off their employees is way higher than the amount that they saved. So why do that in the first place? I think they just expect people to just... Actually, you know what this is? This company is a choosing beggar. You millennials are so lazy. You have a job and you should be grateful for it. So shut up, sit down, get to work, and don't expect any payment. That was r/Prorevenge, and I'm going to make an effort to see.
And now we're going to watch another one. So, and we're probably going to stop halfway on that one so it evens out.
Welcome to r/Prorevenge. Today we find out what happens when r/entitled parents meets r/Prorevenge. So this happened earlier today and was too perfect to not share with you guys. I work in construction as the foreman for a new house build. The location is kinda strange. The house is 250 feet up on a hill via a footpath only. All of our materials have to come up this footpath by hand. It's a pain in the butt to manually carry quite literally an entire house up this hill. One of our saving graces is having the 2 parking spots on the street at the bottom of this hill marked with official no parking signs. Unfortunately, there's an elementary school about half a block away, and the parents of children seem to regularly, at least twice a day, think it's okay to park in our spots. Now, I consider myself a reasonable person, so if someone is parked in the spots and we don't have a delivery or a need to park a truck, I will let it go. If I need the spots and there's no one parked there, however, I will ask them to move nicely, and most of the time they will do so immediately. Until today. I get a call from the lumber delivery truck that is en route to our location. He says he'll be there in about 2 or 3 minutes. I let him know I will meet him at the street and make sure he has a space to park. He's carrying all of the materials to frame the roof of our house, which is a lot of really big lumber and will take easily an hour to bring up the hill. So naturally, I didn't want him parked in the middle of the street with his hazards on for an hour when we have a perfectly good parking spot for him. As I begin my trip down the hill, I notice there's a school parent sitting in her car idling. Assuming she's just waiting to pick up her child, I walk up to her car and politely let her know that she is parked in a no parking zone and we really need her to clear it to park a delivery truck. She scoffs at me and rudely states back, "I'll just be a few minutes and your truck isn't here. Take a chill pill, dude." Before I can respond, a giant lumber truck comes around the corner and I wave to him, and then gesture towards him to the woman in the car who has now put her window back up to ignore me. I put on my best customer service smile and wave at her through the window. She put it down halfway and angrily shouts, "What?" By now, the truck has pulled up alongside her car and I politely ask her again with a stronger tone of voice to move her vehicle, reminding her that she is illegally parked in a tow-away zone. Then she gives me this wonderful idea. She says, "Can't you guys just unload around me?
Oh boy.
Jesus, it's not that hard." I give her another smile and walk away, a brilliant plan forming in my head. I instruct the delivery driver to park as closely to her as possible.
I don't understand what is it with people who think that they own something or they have something to prove when really you don't have anything to prove. And really, why do you feel like that, sir, even when people tell you that there's an issue with you being there or you doing a certain thing, what do you have to prove? You don't have anything to prove. Why are you trying to throw your weight around? Really? See, if she had moved now, she wouldn't be getting what she's getting right now. And I would love to see what she's getting.
And block her in with the porta potty that is on one end of our reserve spot and the car that is parked just adjacent to our spots on the other end. He smiles because he immediately gets what I'm trying to do and proceeds to expertly block this lady and her car into a little 2 parking spot jail. We unstrap the lumber and my guys begin humping material up the hill. Meanwhile, I call the police parking enforcement to let them know the situation. At this point in time, I wasn't trying to get her in trouble. I just wanted a record of why we were blocking part of the street so we don't get in trouble with the city. The very friendly traffic officer lets me know that she can be there in about 30 minutes and deal with the situation for me. Wonderful. As we continue to unload lumber, the child of the parent shows up, and wouldn't you know it, mom is just now realizing that the lumber truck is parked so close she can't get out of her driver door to meet her kid. She awkwardly clambers across the inside of her car and stumbles out the passenger door, shooting glaring looks at me and the truck driver in the process. She loads her kid into the back and then begins to realize that she has no way of leaving. She comes storming up to myself and the driver and states, "I'm in a big hurry. You need to move your freaking truck right now so I can go." Before I can respond, the driver gets a grin on his face and says, "Ma'am, in order to unload the lumber on the truck, we had to unstrap it. And per our company policy, I'm not allowed to move the truck with any unsecured load on it. Sorry." This sends her into near aneurysm levels of blood pressure. Meanwhile, I can barely contain my laughter.
I can see
F
this.
your policy, I have somewhere to be, she barks back at him. At this point, with impeccably convenient timing, the parking enforcement officer shows up and parks behind the truck. She doesn't see the officer arrive, and while the officer is still getting out of her vehicle, I just casually say, "Can't you just pull around it? It's not that hard." With the biggest shit-eating grin I've ever had, I watch as she realizes that I just used her line on her. "F you!" she yells and storms back to her car and angrily clambers back in through the passenger door and into the driver's seat. At this point, the officer is walking up to myself and the driver. Before she can even introduce herself, the mom in the car slams it into reverse and stomps on the gas, crashing into our porta potty and knocking it over, and then throws the car into drive and tries to mount the curb and drive on the sidewalk. The officer, driver, and I are staring in disbelief as she gets halfway over the curb and gets stuck. I can hear her screaming obscenities over the idling truck from inside her car. The officer promptly walks up to the door of the car and orders her out. My favorite part of the entire thing is watching her face go to shock as she realized she just did all of that in front of a police officer. She gets slapped in cuffs as the parking officer calls for a second unit, and she is promptly sat on the very curb she tried to drive over. She sits on the curb yelling to the now 2 officers about how we told her she could stay there and that we never asked her to move. The traffic officer responds that she was the one who was originally called when she first refused to move and that she already knows what's going on. While myself and the driver are giving a report to the second officer, my guys finish moving the remainder of the lumber and the driver finishes his statement and takes off to go back to the yard. By the end of the ordeal, she was arrested, charged with child endangerment, her kid was in the back of the car the whole time, reckless driving, destruction of property, the porta potty, and driving on a suspended license.
Bruh.
On top of all that, she also got her car towed. The kid went home with his grandma and she went to spend some quality time in a cell. I never expected her to actually heed my advice to just pull around it. But I think next time she'll probably think twice about parking in a tow-away zone if she ever gets a license again. Oh, it's so beautiful. This is what happens when entitled parents meets Prorevenge. While walking to my gate at LAX airport, I noticed a woman whose dog was in the middle of doing its business. The woman was loudly FaceTiming with her back to the dog, so I assumed she didn't notice. That was likely the thought shared by the gentleman who tried to get her attention. "Excuse me, miss," he said in a polite tone. The woman glared at him. "Your dog," he sheepishly continued, pointing to the mid-poop pup. The woman rolled her eyes and went back to FaceTime as the man slinked away, seemingly embarrassed. "Some people," she bellowed to her FaceTime companion with no hint of irony, "are just so darn rude." When her dog finished, the woman started walking away, leaving everything right on the airport floor. Another woman tried to stop her. "You're not going..."
So, some people are so rude, but your dog literally took a dump right there on the airport floor. Uncouth. Uncouth.
"To clean that up?" she asked, as shocked as the rest of us were. "They have people for that," the offender replied, disappearing.
The janitorial, my bad. Well, janitorial, custodial, they're not supposed to deal with that stuff. They already have enough problems having to clean up other people's crap. Why do they have to clean up your dog's crap? And it's not even supposed to be there.
Into the crowd as much as someone yelling into their phone can disappear into a crowd. I stood near the pile and warned people to walk around it while someone else got a maintenance worker's attention. No one said anything. We were so shocked that anyone could be that horrible. When I got to my gate, the woman was there too. Great, we were both going to Tokyo.
Oh boy.
When I travel abroad, I get embarrassed by other Americans.
I really, like, the fact that she's going to Tokyo, immediately I can think of a certain individual, and all we could say, just keep your mouth shut. Please, please.
Americans doing things 100 times less embarrassing than leaving animal feces on the floor of the airport. To make it worse, her dog was now barking at everyone who walked by. I have nothing against people flying with their dogs. I do it often, but it is a privilege I take seriously. My dog is well trained and behaves better than most people. He certainly behaves better than that butthole. Speaking of buttholes, there is a pet relief area inside LAX, past security, just 2 gates away from where the party pooper let her dog go to town. It didn't matter. She was the type of person to litter 3 feet away from an empty garbage can. While her dog barked at the world, the woman had moved from FaceTiming with no headphones to listening to music with no headphones. I don't like to throw around the word sociopath, but I don't know how else I could explain just how selfish and terrible of a person she was. I'd bet her car was somewhere in long-term parking, parked across 3 spots with paint on the bumper from the child's bike she hit without leaving a note.
Oh my
Everyone
gosh.
else tried to ignore her, sitting as far away from her as they could. I am not everyone else. I sat down right next to the horrible woman. "Are you going to London on business?" I said. "I'm going to Tokyo," she responded gruffly, annoyed that I had interrupted her DJing. "Oh," I said, "then you better hurry. The flight got moved to gate 53C. This is the flight to London." I figured I could give her a little moment of panic as payback for how terribly she was treating everyone. I didn't predict what would happen next. She grabbed her bags and her dog in a huff and stormed out of the gate without even checking. She was so self-involved, she didn't notice that the monitor at our gate still said Tokyo and almost everyone at the gate was Japanese. Based on her actions, she believed me that the flight had been moved, so she's also a butthole for not thanking me. Some people, I thought as I watched her rush away from the gate without stopping her, are just so darn rude. The flight to Tokyo was at gate 69A, so the 53 gates were on the other side of the next terminal. And I felt guilty knowing she probably berated some poor clerk who had to explain to her that there was no gate 53C. I don't know if she made it back to this flight before we took off or not, but I didn't see her board and I don't hear her dog. Her missing her flight was not my original intention, but it would be a fine punishment for her being so rude to everyone and making a low-paid stranger clean feces off the floor. What makes me wonder if I went too far is the knowledge that Delta only has 1 flight to Tokyo each day. Whoops! Maybe she can rebook on another airline. I hear they have people for that. I would spend actual money. I would spend those big ol' YouTuber bucks to watch that airport security footage of this woman when she gets to the wrong gate and realizes she missed that flight. Oh my God, I would pay anything to watch that footage. We live in a small private.
Alright guys, I'm gonna stop right there and I will look at part 2 of the rest of this video next time. So thank you guys for watching this Vibe Nation. I'll see you guys later.